They're not reporting the real numbers.
The numbers are segmented and they are fictitious.
I started my career in 1997 in the United States Border Patrol. It was one of the most violent times in recent Border Patrol history. I made my bones and my reputation on that border. I believe what is happening on the border today is intentional.
We have people in the United States of America that breed children in order to sell them.
Our own government is facilitating the absolute destruction of the American immigration system, and I can prove it point by point. I'm unafraid to speak the truth. This is just data-driven and experience-driven.
Because the goal is not to completely subjugate Afghanistan. The goal is to use Afghanistan to wash money out of the tax bases of the United States, out of the tax bases of European countries, through Afghanistan and back into the hands of a transnational security elite. That is the goal, i.e. the goal is to have an endless war, not a successful war.
Biden to announce final $500 million in Ukraine military aid. It ends about $65 billion in security assistance under Biden, and Trump would get $3.8 billion to use if he wanted to spend it. Why do they want to keep going? Well, we just had the former deputy prime minister of Poland do an interview, and he said they're laundering it. The Democrat Party launders it through Ukraine. Ukrainian oligarchs take a cut, and then it moves on and makes its way back to the U.S. Wonder if that's true. So when you see that, and then you see Joe Biden demanding, as he did before Christmas, hey, we need to begin drafting 18-year-olds in Ukraine. What, for the meat grinder? The one that you're going to throw them in as fodder and we're not going to win? Yeah, that one. Hey, let's launch a few more missiles at Russia to keep it going. Folks, I can't wait. We're down to less than 20 days. I can't wait for this to end.
And I want to be clear. We're not waiting until those fires are over to start helping the victims. We're getting them help right now, as you all know. People impacted by these fires are going to receive one-time payment of $770, one-time payment, so they can quickly purchase things like water, baby formula, and prescriptions. So far, nearly 6,000 survivors have registered to do just that, and $5.1 million has gone out.
You've been sleeping in the car.
Yep. And it was so cold last night that I had, a bunch of, there's my dog in it now.
This is Jennifer. She's been living on the side of the highway with her roommate Michael after the home they were renting got destroyed during Hurricane Helene.
Testing.
That's good. Okay. So you lost the place you were living in?
The place I was living in, yeah, I lost it, and the landlord decided to demolish it, and that was it.
Michael had been living in this camper, but now sleeps in his truck because the camper's fallen apart.
There was mold, the walls were moldy, and all the termite damage and rot.
So, a new camper would really, really help you guys.
Man, yes.
So what would help you guys right now?
I don't know. People need to buy my art and
buy your art. Do you have any of it here?
Yeah. Yeah, you want to see some of it? This one's one of my favorites. It's got pieces of mica in it. This dirt down here is from, I think, Colorado. And they glow in the dark. They all glow in the dark.
How much for this one?
Whatever you want to give me.
Can I give you $100 for it?
You're amazing. Thank you so much.
And if I give you $200, will you share it with Michael?
Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
I really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Yep. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I'll be back.
Unfortunately, stories like this one are all too common in Western NC, and if we don't continue to share these stories and help these people, then they will be forgotten.
It's going to become increasingly hard for politicians to explain to the American people how we have such little money and resources for Americans in the aftermath of disaster, but we never run out of money for illegal immigrants and Ukraine. What could California or North Carolina do with that $500 million?
That not piss you off? I mean, if you're not a red-blooded American and you're not just raging angry, I don't know what to tell you, my man. Every day I think these morons that run our country, these malicious traitors that run our country, could get any worse. I say, I think they hit the bottom. Nope. Oh, welcome to Truth with JJ Carrell, by the way. Sometimes I just get so... $770. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. $700 for the Maui and 700, maybe 750 for the North Carolina. We saw that couple. I don't know if they're husband and wife. I don't know if they're just friends in North Carolina. Did you see how filthy dirty they both were? I'm not demeaning them. Please do not take that in any way. They're filthy dirty. There's no water hookup. There's no sanitation to that fallen down trailer. Why are they still living like that? And it's been months. Ann Vandersteel did a documentary on this months ago. And they're still living like this in North Carolina. Look, we could have a discussion about being prepared. But when you are already living on the fringes financially, and then some catastrophe, man-made or not, comes through and destroys, like literally washes, the land is gone. It's not like, well, we can put a trailer back up. The land is gone. Do we not help our brothers and sisters? I like to have reserves in my family all the time. Catastrophic, something happens, I can take care of my family. And we can have a discussion on how much they should have been prepared versus how much help we give them. But what you and I can never, ever, ever have an argument about is billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars, going to Ukraine, going to Israel. Billions of dollars going to Israel. Israel is not a third world country. They are a first world country. Why are we sending billions of dollars to humanitarian aid to Israel? Can anybody explain that to me? Go ahead. Come on, I'm waiting. Silence. Why are we sending $200 billion plus, that's what we know about, to Ukraine? Why? I'm waiting. Someone tell me. $8 trillion to the Middle East. $8 trillion in 22 years. Let me repeat that. $8 trillion for the last 22 years in the Middle East. We blew them to smithereens, and now they're all angry at us, and we're shocked they're trying to kill us and blow up our stuff, and we spent $8 trillion. But that old decrepit fool, and I'm not just bagging on Joe Biden, I hate him. I hate him in my pit of my soul. I hate that man. But he is the example. He stands as the idol of everyone that works in Washington, D.C. They're all disgusting. They're waving the Ukrainian flag. Remember that? Waving the Ukrainian flags, we sent billions of dollars to them in our House of Chambers. Were they flying any flags from North Carolina? Do you remember that? 2, 3, 4 months ago? Waving the state flag in North Carolina, like, we're going to take care of North Carolina. Yes, North Carolina. No, we didn't see that. Did you see the Hawaii flag? Hawaii got devastated. We see the state of California flag? The answer is no. We saw a Ukrainian flag. We see the Israel flag all over the House of Congress. Why do we see foreign nations' flags in our federal buildings? Because we're corrupt. Trillions of dollars wasted, not even helped. I can even almost accept it if we had every piece of concrete beautifully polished. Our streets were lined with gold. Everyone was going to school. There was no taxes. Everyone is educated. We all had more than enough money, and we were just flourishing in America, and we spent money across the world to make it gleamingly beautiful. I can understand that. I could almost have to say, okay, I see the point. But we gave $8 trillion plus to the Middle East and all the other wars, trillions of dollars. Those nations are in complete shambles. America is rotting to the core from the infrastructure, rotting. Our schools we're like 34th in the nation in education. We spend more than anyone in the world, and we're 34th. Homeless everywhere. Fires we can't put out because we don't have water in the fire hydrants. People are living in squalor in North Carolina, and we just pissed away all of our money for foreigners. Not only do we just burn our money in foreign nations for foreigners, we burn our money to the tune of $1 trillion deficit in 4 years for who? Illegal aliens inside America's walls. Is anybody else upset? Am I in my studio by myself just screaming at a camera? Is anybody else at their wits' end, like they've had it? Right before I came on, my accountant sent me my 2024 tax forms and stuff I have to fill out. I don't know why, but I just got visceral anger when I saw that, because I was like, I'm going to have to spend, I've already spent probably 40, 50 hours constantly detailing as I do my documentaries for my LLC and my business and then my personal accounts, and I have to separate them, and I have to spend hours every month going through it and making sure, and then I'm going to spend at least another 40 hours going through my taxes and make sure they're in the right box so I don't get audited, and make sure that I have all the receipts for everything I'm claiming. Why? Why am I spending 40 to 80 hours a freaking year doing my taxes? You print the money anyway. Why are you taxing me and printing money at the same time? Why are you taking my money, not yours, my money, and spending it all in foreign nations? Why? I want to know why. And no one has the brass to ask. No one wants to ask. I think Rand Paul found, what was it last year, $1 trillion of waste? To see how beetles dance in Africa when it gets over 100 degrees? Or the gay LGBTQ 50 and older retirement home? What? I don't care if it's for the straight whitest men in the world retirement home. They're not getting any money either. I don't understand how the rest of America is not irate. If you don't think that you're not several months away from bad luck and ending up on a hillside in North Carolina living in some dilapidated trailer, you're fooling yourself. What's the rule of thumb? You have to have 6 months of income saved up. Who in America, outside of people maybe like myself that are retired and have 401k that is disappearing as I speak because of Joe Biden and the traders run our government? But I can't get my 401k the way I want it because I have to pay federal income tax on money that's mine. How does America and Americans not see how malicious our federal government is? You will pay state tax. You will pay income tax. You will pay sales tax. You'll pay gas tax. You'll pay property tax. You'll pay for insurance. You'll pay tax on that. You buy a car, you will pay tax. You get taxed every year. In Kansas, I spent $1,200 to get a piece of paper and a sticker for both of my cars. That's a tax. I get taxed on the electricity. I get taxed on the water. Think about all the times they touch our money. And then when you drive your streets, or you go to your children's schools, or you go to your airports, bus stations, train stations, when you see that your fire and your law enforcement are underfunded, and all of your money has been taken, and it is all overseas. There's a report. I'm just going to say it. I was going to fact check it, but it looks very reliable, but I'm going to fact check it. But there's a report going around that the Palisades fire, there was 8 homes that burnt to the ground, and they called them mansions. And they belonged to 8 Ukrainian generals. Those 8 homes totaled $90 million. Do any of our generals make enough money, 8 of them combined, to pay a mortgage on $90 million? And when I'm going to do some investigation in it, I want to know, are they paid off? Do they pay them in stone cold cash? There are reports, verified reports, all the time coming out of Ukraine with their political class leaving the country with literal suitcases filled with dollars and euros. And we have no water in our fire hydrants. California is still burning. Nothing has stopped it. The wildfires are still going. I think it's not even 1% contained. North Carolina residents are living in squalor and filthy dirty. It is freezing cold in the hills and mountains of North Carolina. Do you know that we are funding all of Ukrainians' government, public sector pensions? Do you know that? I could go right now, and I live in a very a good suburb, let's say that, of Kansas City. Very smart people, just down to earth smart people. People that I would do business with, people that I would hire to be financial advisors, people that I would trust my son with, those type of people. I could guarantee you, I could take a map of the world to 100 people that I just described, and 90, at least 90, could not pick Ukraine out on the map. Just like I could take back in the late 60s, early 70s and show me where Vietnam is on the map. Can't find it. Then what the hell are we doing there? It's that big of a deal that Americans can't find it on a map? If you do not believe that you need to diversify your money from these liars and thieves, then you need to get your head examined. Call Swiss American Precious Metals, 800-254-5904. Ask for Wes Peters, and he will send you. You don't even have to call him. You can just text him. He'll send you a brochure, information, no hard sales. No one believes that our money's good anymore. That's why they're trying to get the BRICS. We print money willy-nilly. We just sent $500 million to Ukraine last week. Did you see anything cut in the federal budget? No. So they had to have printed the money and shipped it over in pallets. They devalued your money right in front of your face. And every time I go through and I see Maui and I see North Carolina and I see California and I even see the governor, he's on his cell phone. He doesn't even have a sat phone. He has a cell phone. He's not even prepared. They don't even have any way for him to communicate in the middle of nowhere. Think of that. I just thought of that, actually, of that woman yesterday I showed you that was railing against Gavin Newsom, saying, you got to help us. And he's like, well, I don't have any service. So the man that has to make all the final decisions on everything, the catastrophic wildfires, no one can get a hold of him. It can't get a hold of him because it's too spotty. The reception's no good. Do you in any way feel as if these buffoons are ever going to be able to help you in any way, in any scenario? Why doesn't he have a sat phone? Come on, this is survival 101. You're the governor. You know you're going into an area where everything has been burnt to the ground. You're not going to have any cell signal. You have nothing. You have no service. And you're an idiot. You bring your iPhone. Prepare. Sat123.com. Sat123.com/JJ. Get your sat phone. It comes for free when you get a monthly subscription. Like, just do it like a Verizon or T-Mobile. Same concept. But when you're standing in the middle of a war zone, or you're standing in where a fire just blew out the whole community, and everyone's like, I can't get a hold of anybody, and you're talking to your loved ones, yeah, then it'll be worth it. We are coming up on, 6 days and a sleep, I think it is. And January 6ers are going to be pardoned and released from prison. So I reached out to a friend of mine, I consider a friend, Sarah Maccabee, and said, Sarah, would you come allow me to interview you in the Worldview Tube studios in Memphis? Would you come do that, please? Yes. Sarah and I had a very long discussion, well over 2 hours. And when you listen to this very, very intelligent, very composed and articulate individual, you will be shocked at what has been robbed from her and people like her. And several of the things I want to discuss with Sarah, and they were all tied to January 6th, but it was very personal. And I asked her before I interviewed her, said, I want to ask you a few personal questions. Will you allow me to dive into that? And she says, yes, I have no limits, no barriers, just ask me whatever. So I asked her, would you have already had children? I think she was 25 when her husband Colton was arrested, and she is now she's at 29 and going on 30. And everyone listening, everyone that's a parent or wants to be a parent, the woman's most fertile time to get pregnant is passing her by. These are real life consequences to criminal behavior by our federal government. Yes, her husband's rotting in prison and he needs to get out immediately. But I wanted to take some time and ask her the question, how has it impacted you? Where was your life supposed to be right now before January 6th? Logan, can you go ahead and play this short clip of Sarah talking about that? By the time, did you have in your mind when, like a lot of women do, obviously,
yeah,
this is time that you have the most childbearing range, did you think you would have children by now?
Oh, no, absolutely. So he is the type of man that the all-American man, right? Like, I want to have kids and I want to grow up and be a really good dad. He came from a really horrible childhood. And so he wanted to right that, wrong in his emotional well-being, to be a really good father to his kids. And, I was building my corporate career at the time, and I'm like, no, I want to give a good life to our children, right? If they ask for something, we can give it to them and provide for them with education and all of that. And so I said 5 years.
5 years.
Our 5-year anniversary was 2 weeks before the FBI came and raided our house. And so that was kind of like that moment where it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Because you see, like, my grandmother has passed away, and so she would never get to see her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, what she would have should this not have happened. And just like my parents are getting older, and, you see your friends, like my best friend had a baby during all of this. And so you kind of, on one hand, you get really jealous of seeing these people's lives continue on while yours is literally at a standstill, or if not, you feel like it's even regressing. But on the other hand, I'm very grateful because I feel like the Lord absolutely knew what he was doing in our lives, whether we knew it or not at the time. And I think that's why we didn't have children, was because I felt equipped to not only fight on behalf of my husband, but for all January 6th defendants, and in turn for all Americans, you know, to fight for our freedoms. And I know that if I had children, that it would have hindered me in the way that I wouldn't feel like I could talk the way that I talk, or be put myself out in the public eye like that, because I would have children not only to take care of, but to protect.
If you want to see the whole interview, you go to worldviewtube.com/JJ and sign up for the vault. It's worth it. I'm packing stuff in there. What my vision is for my section of the vault. And you have access to everything, all Brandon House's, all of his old stuff, his new stuff, everything in between, everything that gets pushed out on Worldview Tube. But on my section, I want to put out daily content that's just for subscribers, anywhere from 7, 8 to 12 minutes, commentary on what's happening in the world every day, 5 days a week. And then I am beginning to do multiple long-form interviews on people that I find very interesting, fascinating, intriguing, people that I think you would feel the same way. When you tune in, you're like, I want to know about this Sarah Maccabee. I want to know about the MK Ultra and Dr. Juliet Engel. I want to learn about, wait a minute, our government's involved in the presidential election and the attorney general in Guatemala. So this long form interview, but Sarah, I was shocked because Sarah's done about, I would say, at least 1,000 interviews, minimum. And she never did a long form interview. No one sat down and said, tell me your story. Like, I need it all. I need to hear it all. And that will come out on Thursday. And this is a great way to support Worldview Tube. And next week, I will be putting out a long-form interview with Ann Vandersteel. So like I said, I want to interview people that are intriguing, that are intelligent, that make me think. And I know that would make you think, make you pause and go, wait a minute, what did she just say? And rewind it and say, dear God, I can't believe she just said that. Is that true? That's the type of people I want to interview. So I'm excited. This week, Logan, the producer, is going to push out that interview with Sarah Maccabee on Thursday. And then next week, we'll begin to promote and show shorts as we edit. We don't really edit. It's just a long form, but just to get it in the best way to deliver it to the audience. And we will have Ann Vandersteel next week. Let me tell you, after that monologue that went kind of long, because I am so distraught and angry at our government, I need to take a nap. I didn't even get a nap today. Do you know it's my favorite thing to do when I was in college? I'll ask Ann if that was what her favorite thing growing up in college is. I got to take a nap, and I loved it. Before I went to football practice, I would take a nap, and I could fall asleep in like 30 seconds on it in the beds in college. And it's not like it is today. They were like prison mattresses that I slept on, pillows that were like, I don't know. If I land on it just right, it could explode, and there's no more pillow. But now I have my pillow, and I have about 100 of them in my house. I get 2 of them. My wife and my son get all the other 98. But I have slippers. They have robes. I don't wear a robe. I'm not Hugh Hefner, but they wear robes. Sheets, bed linens, towels. And I love the story of Mike Lindell. I never met Mike Lindell. I would really like to meet him one day, but I love his story. I love somebody that has gone to the bottom, realize that they're bottom, and fight their way to the top, and that's Mike Lindell. So go to mypillow.com, promo code JJ Carrell. With that said, let's bring in the person that we interviewed for a long form last week, Ann Vandersteel. Welcome, Ann.
Hey, JJ, good to be back with you. Thank you for having me. I
always love talking to you on a Tuesday. This is when I have to And I've told you before where I say, okay, you need to focus, JJ. You're talking to someone smarter than you, and you got to have your A game. That's how I feel, and I do. And I talked to you for about an hour and 45 minutes, maybe 2 hours last week for a long-form interview, and I think it's going to be great. I think the audience will love it. I think they will walk away informed. I think they'll walk away shocked, and I think they'll walk away sometimes like I do when I'm talking to you, like, dang it. How do I not know that? I better learn. I better catch up to Ann. So we have a lot to talk about in a week, Ann. In 1 week, the world changes. Isn't it incredible?
It really is. And in fact, I'm wondering if the world is going to change in less than a week, meaning January 19th, President Trump is assembling a rally ahead of inauguration, which I find highly unusual. But it's not unusual when you think about the security concerns around this man who they've had 2 assassination attempts that we know of, and Secret Service has control during the inauguration. But a Trump rally is a different thing. President Trump can leverage the Secret Service and his own private security. So is this really just an opportunity for him to really just have one good rally and say, thank you for getting us here tomorrow? This is your day, but I want to say thank you to you. Or is it something else? Because he has been certified. Do we know if perhaps they swore him in when we weren't looking, when we have all these distractions going on? Or is he going to take his swearing in ceremony on the 19th and decide that it's safer to do it through his security than it is through theirs? I don't know. All evidence points to he'll continue on the 20th, but certainly seems unusual to have this big rally. I think it's great. I think it's a shot in the arm for the people, but it is highly unusual.
I saw Dan Bongino about 2 days ago give on his show, talking about, he just says everything that he hears and he knows that the security is not adequate, that the Secret Service is not prepared for Donald Trump. They're not.
Yeah, that would be on the inauguration date for sure. I mean, we've already witnessed that, right? We've already seen the failings there already. There's no reason why there should have been anybody on the golf course, for God's sakes, let alone that the rally in Pennsylvania. That's an incredibly poor performance. And then, of course, the Keystone Cop performance after the fact. It was ridiculous trying to get him in the car. Those women I was embarrassed for those women, frankly. That was embarrassing. So to that, I echo Dan's concerns. I think it's really quite serious. And listen, he is making some maneuvers right now. Let's just look at the confirmation hearing for Pete Hegseth today. Basically, Pete Hegseth took the establishment to the woodshed and shamed them all. And it was a hell of a day for Pete Hegseth. He looked like a rock star. In fact, he came out a lot better than I thought he was going to. I thought he'd get through, but I didn't think he was going to take him to the woodshed the way he did. It was just brilliant how masterful he was. And he really served him up some humble pie left and right, put him in their place, which was, overdue. That's round one. We keep going through these confirmation hearings like this, and you're just sort of steamrolling. And now you've got, the folks in Greenland that want to come to the table and talk to President Trump. Panama is wanting to come to the table and talk to President Trump. You've got, I forget the member of the House that put forward a bill to bring to buy Panama, to buy the Panama Canal back, which I can't even imagine what that's going to cost, considering how much money that canal makes now that they've expanded it, and it's a lot bigger than what it was when we built it. So this kind of stuff just shows you the trajectory and the steamroll. And then, of course, there's the J6ers, which really is first and foremost in my book. Getting these people out and getting them whole. We have, fires and devastation on both sides of our country. I mean, North Carolina has been destroyed. Los Angeles, Southern California is being destroyed. We have gas, $10 a gallon out in California. Newsom looks like he's drunk on a cruise ship when he's standing up giving, press conferences. We have really big problems. And so it's as if, Trump is just kind of moving into this position of serious strength and power while, we are still looking at problems overseas. And so I think that he has everything in momentum going on his side, but they are not going to just release power. They've been very quiet to this point in time, JJ, and it is concerning that they're going to possibly try to do one more attempt at taking him out. And the inauguration would just be something that we'd never get over in our history books.
Yeah, I think if he gets, God forbid, assassinated, I think America explodes, and I think the world explodes. because that's going to be a direct sign to our enemies. Okay, they are absolutely in disarray. Let's go. I saw some of Pete Hesseg's testimony, and I saw enough that I saw two things that stuck out to me, and I thought it was a brilliant move on his part. As they tried to bait him in, the Democrats bait him in on you don't have enough experience. I don't trust you and all that. He just wouldn't answer them. It was brilliant. It was a brilliant move. I used the same move when I was testifying in Congress, where I just told one of the congressmen, asked me some wild question. I go, I don't understand what you're asking. What are you asking? And I literally said it 3 times. What are you asking me? You're not making any sense. Ask me. Tell me what you're asking me. And they get befuddled. They're like, they don't know because they're on a script. And the other thing that my wife pointed out to me, she pointed out to me when I was testifying, and she pointed it out to several senators. She says, JJ, look at their hands. And their hands are shaking, like literally shaking, like they have Parkinson's, shaking. Why are they doing that? Because they're liars. And they don't believe anything that they're saying, and they have a script in front of them, and they're so nervous, their hands are shaking, where normal people like us that know exactly what we believe and why we believe it just come right out, shoot from the hip. I don't need anything in front of me. Let's just talk. But they can't. They're robots.
And let's also point out the fact that Jeffrey Sachs has been on a tear as of late, and he's been calling out Israel. He's calling out the Zionists. He's calling out the Israeli government. And he's, basically suggesting that Israel is behind is a reason that we keep getting dragged into all of these endless wars. And President Trump took a minute and he retruthed Jeffrey Sachs the other day. And subsequent to that, Bibi Netanyahu canceled his trip over here for the inauguration. So, the truth about everything is coming out now. Nobody is going to just walk away from this knife fight without a couple of bruises or some scratches or, frankly, a deep wound. And I have to contend, first and foremost, the Americans have gotten the most knife wounds of anybody because we have been. That's not necessarily fair. Let me rephrase that. Americans have taken a lot of knife wounds from our own government, but our government has unleashed holy hell across this planet in countries that we had no business being in. Our bombs of democracy, frankly, have been nothing more than an opportunity for the bankers and the military-industrial complex to profit off war and then recycle the money out through the United Nations to move people around the world to destabilize us, because we're the last group of people that are standing saying we want our freedom and we don't want to be told what to do. We don't want to have environmental, social governments, credit scores, and central bank digital currency. And, we are not going to eat bugs and everything. We want to stand independent and free. And so the rest of the world, those bankers have been pushing us to the point of destruction. And I really do think Trump recognizes that, and he is now holding up and shining a light on the people that have been primarily responsible for it. And that has some people concerned, including Elon Musk, who didn't quite understand it and had to get a dissertation from Ian Carrell about it. Ian put a 9-minute video out to explain to Elon just exactly who these, who Israel really is in the grand scheme of things. So was it theater? Did Elon, bait him into doing this? Probably, because I don't know how Elon wouldn't know any of these things. But it's an opportunity to educate 200 million people that follow him that may not know these things, right?
Yeah, so. I agree. And what do you think? Like, you're laying it out, and I agree with everything you're saying, that it's going to be I think Donald Trump's going to say, okay, America, you're thirsty for the truth, and he's going to open a fire hydrant. Not one in LA that's empty, but he's going to open one in middle America that will gush out information and water. And you're literally going to be drinking from a fire hose. My question to you is, Ann, is America ready for everything that they're going to have be laid at their feet bare? All of our sins and ills. You think America's ready? Yes. We're out of time, JJ. We are out of time. So it doesn't matter if you're ready or not. We're out of time. It's 0 hour. We have to have this information because we have to start making better decisions about our government and how we want to proceed. Do we want to be a nation state with a centralized government that basically owns us and makes us part of their corporation and we are at their whim, where we, are hanging out there for our privileges of having Social Security and welfare, as opposed to being an independent nation state coming together in a union like we used to be, and working collaboratively, reducing the weight of this massive federal bureaucracy, this monolithic band of thieves, if you will, and all these quote agencies. We need to cut the fat. We need to cut the cancer out. And I think Americans, we are in such a disarray right now.
that, if a UFO landed in your backyard, be like, yeah, okay, honey, pass the salt. My pasta's a little bland. We're not fazed by it anymore. We didn't even get fazed with COVID. And we have people who've taken 15 shots and they're dying. And it's like, oh, no, they didn't die from the shots. Wait, what? The news is everywhere. So this is the wheat and the chaff moment, JJ. So the wheat is ready for the news. The wheat wants the truth. The chaff, they chose to look the other way and they chose to take the shot and they've chose to make their deal with the devil, whether they intended to or not. That was their discernment at the time. And so we can't save everybody. If you read the Bible, you know that not everybody gets to go. And I think America is ready to separate the wheat from the chaff and stand proudly in the know and get to know everything. Because again, we're smart, we're caring, and we know how to come together in a free market style and make things work. That's the beauty of the American people. We know how to work in a free market capitalistic society.
I believe if we are unleashed and we're unburdened, as Kamala Harris would say, if we're unburdened from the unburdened past, if we just are left alone, America can thrive. If we just get this centralized government off our back, we will thrive. If Donald Trump can come in and say, no more income tax, that's been a lie since 1913. It's done. We're taking the Federal Reserve. You're done. We're going to back by gold. If he has an opportunity to make amazing change, and this is why I think it's so important that it starts like long time ago, but day one, is because once he starts turning that ship, that giant ship called America, and it's going the right way, no one's going to be able to stop it. No one. But he's got to gain the momentum, which he has now, and go full steam. And that means arresting people. Because if we're going to talk about crime against humanity, you're going to talk about treason, you're going to talk about all of this stuff that's going on, but no one's arrested, then you're part of the problem. And I'm really going to be watching Donald Trump. Are you going to step up? And that's a big step. I'm asking that man, or have expectation that that man's going to have to take such amazing steps that current historians and media are going to destroy him. Historians 100 years from now are going to say you're the greatest president to ever live for the United States of America. That's a choice he has to make.
Well, I think he wants to be known as that. I mean, he does have an ego the size of Texas. Let's be honest. He's not, he doesn't consider himself insignificant, or he doesn't consider himself to be stupid. Look at the success he's had in his life. He knows it. Anybody can see it. You just wake up and look in the mirror and look around. That being said, you're right, JJ. I am going to be watching him very, very closely come January 20th. I expect to see pardons for all January 6ers. This is his defining moment. This will define his presidency, because the majority of this country understands what happened in D.C. on January 6th was really an insurrection by the federal government against we the people, a coup d'etat. And they understand it. They may not fully get the violent component of it because of how it's been, blown up in the mainstream media, but they will. And the fact of the matter is, when you stop and you just think rationally, if somebody walked in your house, but they didn't take anything from you, they didn't harm you, do they go to prison for 5 years? Is that what happens? No, it's not what happens. No. This was a misdemeanor on every level. It was a misdemeanor majoritively. People did get weapons charges. Some people were holding Coke bottles. Some people were holding baseball bats or flagpoles. But those people that were hitting officers like Jake Lang, that was, going after, that's because he'd spent the time trying to get Roseanne Boylan out from underneath the officer that was beating the hell out of her to the point she died. That was self-defense. And these are the case-by-case things. So commutations immediately have to happen. This will define President Trump as a man who's fair and understands how unjust this two-tier DOJ has been in the last 4 years. He knows better than most, right? And then dealing with the pardons, you can go through every single one. Anybody that had no weapons or violent charges, they should all get pardons. Anybody else, you have to you can look. And those pardons may take a little bit longer, but everybody needs to be released come J20. It has to happen. And this will be to his defining moment, JJ. If he doesn't start there, I dare say he's going to keep the country as captured as he has us right now, where we're like, thank God daddy's home, right? Yep. But that's going to force everybody else to kind of get with the program. Like I've been saying, you are the government. Trump's supposed to do what you want. So you better be telling him, release every prisoner.
Yep, I agree. And I want to ask one more question before I'm done on your time. You're so generous with your time. And I want to take a different look at the LA fires from a different angle. So LA, it's totally distorted. We all know the incompetency, the DEI, all of that.
Yep.
However, the angle that I want to take is Maui, $700, $750. North Carolina, $700, $750. Now, $770 for the Palisades, the Pacific Palisades. At the same time, the day before the fires, he's celebrating giving $500 million more to Ukraine. Look at what he has done. What is your take? Are you as upset as I am, or exasperated with the complete the boondoggle of taking all of our money, shipping it overseas? We know it's not getting to the people. We know that it's coming back to America, and they don't give Americans anything. I just showed a clip before you came on of a man and a woman living in the most dilapidated trailer you can ever imagine on a side of the road with no running water in North Carolina. And in my monologue, I said, Ann already filmed and produced and released a documentary, and these people are still living in a trailer with no electricity or running water.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
How is this happening, Ann?
It's intentional incompetence. They're calling it incompetence, but it's intentional. It's by design. There is no other explanation for it. I know people that work very high up in FEMA. They're thoroughly disgusted and frustrated. 93 families have been given trailers to date. We are now, 5 months since this horrific event, and over 100,000 homes damaged. 93 families have been given trailers. I can't even ask, are you kidding me? Because just to say that out loud takes your breath away. It's just so unbelievably horrific that this is the state of our country, and that they have spent over $1 billion putting housing together and food, et cetera, for the illegals that have broken the law coming into our country. Yet the law-abiding, tax-paying citizen who's paying taxes, that is funding the illegals, gets nothing. There's nothing more to say than those sentences. Just stop and think about that. How do you feel about your government? Do you think your government is here for you? Do you think your government gives a crap about you? Is your government at war with you, perhaps? Yes, they are. And no, they could care less about you. In fact, you are in the way. And when you look at all the compelling evidence, particularly what I put forward in Ground Zero in North Carolina, you can see this is about a land grab. It's been about a land grab in Maui. It's been about a land grab in Los Angeles. It's about a land grab in North Carolina. And it's land grabs in other parts of the world, in fact, because this is exactly what we're facing. We're facing a global war on resources. This is why the Chinese have their Belt and Road Initiative. This is why they're doing massive developments all over Africa, 4, 5, and 6 lane highways in parts of the world that you would have thought still has camels running around. No, the Chinese are there developing, and they're taking the lithium. And this is the reason they're down in South Africa. This is truly just nothing about saving you or me. It's not about any of the governments working for us, JJ. It's all about them taking what they need for themselves. So my heart goes out to Los Angeles. My heart goes out to people in North Carolina and other parts of the country. But until we decide to get off our duffs and push back and say, get off my property, and stand there, pump action, ready to go. Hey, I don't know what to tell you. You are the king of your domain. You are the queen of your castle. Act like it.
Oh, always Ann Vandersteel bringing the wood. I always love you coming on and telling it like it is. And because, Ann, I'll be honest with you, if we don't talk this way, if we don't talk very boldly and bluntly, and I believe you're absolutely right, the time has passed. The time of get ready and get prepared to fight, it's over. We're like in the 8th round of this heavyweight fight. We're in the middle of it. We've got to be ready to fight, and we have to be ready to speak boldly and without any fear or without being apologetic at all. So thank you for your time as always, Ann. You can find Ann at Ann Vandersteel on X, at Ann Vandersteel. Ann, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. God only knows what we're going to be talking about on next Tuesday.
That's right. It's going to be post-inauguration. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
Right.
Thank you. Have a
God
great
bless
weekend.
You,
bye-bye. You too. Bye-bye. Ann Vandersteel. She's awesome. She is just awesome. And she, when you meet certain people and you go, wow, they're not really that way when they're being interviewed. They're very different. They're aloof or they don't have time. Nope. Not Ann. What you see right there, that's Ann Vandersteel. All the time. I love that. I love very authentic, intelligent, driven, determined people like Ann. Mother, wife, businesswoman, she's tenacious, and she is unafraid. My desire, my dream is just have Ann Vandersteel go on The View just for one segment. Can you ugly Karens from The View, can you just please invite Ann Vandersteel just for one segment, 15 minutes, that's it. Please. Wouldn't that be amazing? That would be pay-per-view. That's pay-per-view. That's I'll pay $49.99 for that. Let me talk to you about Pet Club 24/7. Pet Club 24/7. You can go to truthwithjj247.com. I have it right here. This is what I take. This is a mushroom from Japan, of all places. It's natural. It helps with your immune system. Look, I just got done watching the most incredible long interview between Tucker Carlson. Please forgive me for not remembering this gentleman's name. He's a documentary filmmaker. And he did a documentary called Thank You, Dr. Fauci. And he systematically goes through in this interview and in this documentary the corruption. And then he goes through systematically what they did to us Americans and to the world. They destroyed millions of lives. They destroyed millions of bodies, mine being one of them. All on a lie. All on attack on your immune system. And why I partner with Pet Club 24/7, because it's for pets, horses, and humans, is they showed me their peer review. I looked at their documentation. I think it's over 400 peer review articles. Testimonials, I should say. Testimonials from doctors, etc., scientists. This will help your immune system. So I take it, and it has helped incredibly because my immune system is shot because I had COVID twice. I had it before people knew what COVID. It was interesting to watch this gentleman, Thank You, Dr. Fauci, the director and producer. He just said people had it. They had it in November, December of 2019, and had it in January before. And I was one of those guys that had it in January. It's everything. Cough that lasted me months on end. I had no idea what was going on with me. None. Then I get it in South Dakota, and I thought I was going to die. It's the closest I felt of that I was going to die in my life. I really believed, okay, this could end badly, JJ. And did not know that I was getting pumped with remdesivir 3 different times. Mortality rate of 1 dose of remdesivir is 50%. Our government knew that, and they put it in. Nigeria, a third world country in Africa, has banned remdesivir. Banned it. And our government, knowing that it doesn't work, pushed it on us. My doctor's over my bed. I have hives all over me because my COVID, I was one of the 3%ers that had hives covered you as COVID came out of your body. She's standing over me. I'll never forget this. And I barely breathe, can't breathe. It's miserable. And she goes, I'm going to give you something, and I don't know if it's going to work. But that's all we have in South Dakota because the federal government has stopped all the shipments of all the monoclonal, everything else. Everything else that we would want to try, we're not getting because the federal government stopped it to the red states. So, Mr. Carrell, we're going to give you remdesivir. I never heard of it. I was like, what? I don't care. I think I'm dying. Okay, I trust you. Trust you. 3 doses of that. How did I not die? Dr. Fauci, that little mouse of a man, that little rat. You want to talk about truth? I want to play this clip real quick if we can. I want to get both of these clips in as fast as we can because I think they're powerful. I want you to listen to retired Colonel Douglas McGregor. You want to talk about power? You want to talk about someone that's going to tell you the truth? Let's listen to him.
I mean, who voted for open borders? I always ask that question. Did we have a plebiscite on opening our borders? Were there decisions made at the state level to open borders? I'm not aware of it. And people look at me and said, ha, ha, ha. Well, yeah, I'm an American. Nobody asked me. I don't want to open borders. So I think we're going to face something very similar here in this country quite soon. And I would argue that the first thing that Donald Trump needs to do is get out of these places overseas, disengage, de-escalate. The war is here now. It's the war for the survival of our republic and the American people who constitute the republic. We've got to save it. Put the troops on the border. Get them out of Poland and Lithuania. Put them on the border. Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California. We need them there. And then we need to strengthen our police, and we need to strengthen the laws. We need to back them up. I mean, I run into policemen all the time that are leaving. These are people that have been on the force for 10, 12, 15 years. They haven't even been there long enough to get a pension. And they say, listen, I can't take it anymore. It's hopeless. I'm going to go to jail for simply enforcing the law. I mean, this is bad juju. So I think, frankly speaking, I don't know what Donald Trump's going to do, but I think that's the first thing he needs to do is get out of all these places overseas, because whatever happens over there is irrelevant to us. We really have to worry about our country right now.
We have to worry about our country right now. He's absolutely right. The war is here. It's in America. It's in our borders. Who voted for open borders? I think that's a brilliant question that he asked. Listen, I told you that when I sit in front of Ann Vandersteel, I have to really pay attention. Okay, Ann's going to go down historical trails. She's going to go down this. She's going to pull historical notes out. You better be ready. One of the most trying times that I had intellectually, where I knew, okay, I'm about to go talk to somebody that is grossly more intelligent than me, like light years more intelligent than me. Historic knowledge beyond anyone I've ever met, maybe outside of my father. My father was a certified genius. Incredible history, incredible recall of everything, understanding, ability to articulate. But I sat before Colonel McGregor for my documentary, What is Treason Invaded? And I interviewed him for 2 hours. And I'm going to tell you, that was an intellectual marathon for me. I knew there's times I can understand, I can follow, I can regurgitate and articulate what I hear. I'm really good at that. But I'm self-aware enough when I'm sitting before a man that is incredibly intelligent to know that I was an intellectual battle as a game to stay up with him. He was running. We started that marathon. He was already on mile 10. I was just trugging along, man, trying to catch up to him. But he has a voice like Ann Vandersteel. It's bold, it's unapologetic, it's patriotic. They will not bend a knee. America, we can no longer bend a knee. We have got to come out fighting every single day.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHousebg.com.
Welcome to Technocracy News with your host, Patrick Wood. I am Logan House. We got a few articles to go over today over at technocracy.news.